Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. This is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
So tonight, what movie are we doing tonight?
Well, I get a chance to introduce it for a change.
Yes.
Now, The Initiation of Sarah, S-A-R-A-H, just like my daughter sitting next to me. It's a 1978 American made-for-TV supernatural horror film.
Yeah. Before we begin this podcast, guys, one person recommended it to me. Well, not this one, but the one that was done 2006, which was a few years later, which has, let me refresh my memory, Morgan Fairchild was in both.
Now Morgan Fairchild in this one plays the head mean girl, and in the remake she plays the girl's mother, doesn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
So she makes a snap back into
Actually,
this.
before I say it, yeah, it's quite funny. When they were casting for the role, the mean girl, in this, I think the director or whoever was in charge of getting the cast together at the time said it's really easy to find a girl to be the sweet little innocent girl everyone's going to love and feel nice about. But it's really hard to find someone who could play a convincing bitch. And that's what he said to her. Now, that's nothing against Morgan Fairchild. This is a case that she did it so well and convincing, and that's what acting is all about.
Well, usually means casting the most beautifulest woman in the universe.
Yeah, but if you had someone really, really, really beautiful who couldn't play a bitch, playing a bitchy role, it wouldn't come across as convincing.
She came off very a natural, not so
a natural bitch,
natural, good-looking, but not really getting the guys look.
No, she's
getting the guys. But
Morgan Fairchild's a good-looking babe. Thank you very much. I just meant,
like, if they chose someone who was less than pretty, it would not work.
No, so you need someone who's
really good-looking,
but who can act a convincing bitchy role, and she did it well. She's probably nothing like that.
No. I imagine she's probably okay.
A very nice lady.
In reality.
Yeah.
We can't judge a person just because of the acting role.
Look at Frankenstein. Now, the monster, Boris Karloff. I'm sure he was a very nice man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, aside from this, so moving on. So you guys know, this came out about 2 years after the Carrie movie.
Yeah, the original one.
Yeah, the original one, which was sort of fast-paced towards, came out as a debut film for John Travolta, but also a debut movie for Stephen King's work, because that was his first...
John Travolta?
Yeah, John Travolta was in it.
Was he?
Yes.
Oh,
he played the Billy's boyfriend. I mean, Billy,
the mean guy.
Mean guy who was one of the boyfriends to the baddie guys.
I didn't pay attention. I must have looked at that again.
Anyway, it was not a very big role.
No.
Anyway, so
just a bruiser,
of course, when they did carry the movie for that one, the book came out in 1974, 2 years before this movie movie was released.
So it was such a good book.
It must have taken them not a great deal of time, but probably they just jumped ahead and tried to write up the script quickly.
It wouldn't take much to write a script. But I mean, you got the storyline there. You got to fill in some words. But once you got a good storyline to start with, the rest of it comes off a lot easier. But
so then this movie that we're reviewing took place in 1978, and about 4 other movies that deal with supernatural and school bullying.
And telekinesis and that sort of stuff.
That was kind of intertwined. I guess when Carrie came out, a lot of studios wanted to jump on board this type of formula. So they wanted to kind of get that fame that Carrie got, and they wanted to get themselves noticed in the industry. The one of them is called Jennifer, that was done in 1978. The Spell, which came out in 1977, 1 year after Carrie came out. Patrick, 1978, which is Australian production.
Yes.
The Fury, which was another book that deals with supernatural thingy-wings. It's done again in 1978, roughly around this time of this movie came out too. Evil Speaks, 1982, even though this one came out much years later.
It wasn't much years later.
And this one came out the same year as the others.
This one,
Laser Blast, which was in 1978, which was more of a sci-fi horror or whatever. It was more sci-fi when I think about that one, obviously, but other than that, all these movies have a common theme. They deal with school bullying and how these kids would go ahead and take charge of and take control by using their evil power.
Well, good power, depending how you use it.
Depending on how they use it. But aside from that, this power not really goes to their head, but they try to take revenge on the kids who bullied them all their lives. It's kind of sad when you think about that, all of the bullying we get over the years, and it has not changed. It's not just because of movies, not because of video games, but because of the bad attitudes kids get, sometimes. And we don't have an answer to all why it happens, and I often think, more than ever, that the school system needs to change.
It's sucky. Yeah.
It needs to change its rules and try to get, if kids break rules like bullying, they should start
penalising them. Say, kids will be kids, sort
and
of
not
stuff.
just suspend them, because suspension is just like a 2-week holiday. It's not a punishment, in my opinion. So
Anyway,
it's not good
enough.
enough, in my opinion.
Get off your soapbox.
Yes, sorry. So we'll get into this movie, guys.
Okay, right. Produced by yada yada yada. Blah, 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 blah. Right. I haven't got too much of that. Right. Yeah, it was produced by a guy called Chuck Fries. It was a telly movie. Not quite sure. Oh, yeah, Robert Day directed it. There you go. A genre, horror, thriller, story by Tom Holland and Carol Saraceno, I think it is, and screenplay by Don Ingalls, Carol Saraceno, and Kenneth Gfeller. Now, Geffler? Well, I don't know how to pull it. I don't know how to say it. Anyway, yes, those people put the screenplay together.
Right.
Now, there's no box office and stuff.
Of course.
Because obviously it went to telly.
Just like most of the other ones I mentioned, except for The Carrie, which probably went to
that was
movies.
theatre. That was theatre.
The rest of the ones probably went directly to TV because they didn't get very much.
But no, they're made for
impact.
TV. They were made for TV. This was a made-for-TV movie.
Yes.
You make the movies for TV. You make them some for cinema release. Carrie was a cinema release.
Yeah.
This Patrick, I'm not sure about. Anyway, do you want to tell the tale? Oh, I didn't do the actors, did I?
The actors, no. We talked
What's
about
this based
Morgan Fairchild,
Fairchild.
but we need to talk about the other actors
peoples.
who make a bigger
The other
impact.
pimples. Yeah.
There are some really good ones, especially ones that kind of became major stars when they got older, obviously.
Okay.
Go on.
You finished?
Yes?
Or do you want to just take over?
Uh-huh.
Right, okay. Now, a lady, young girl by the name of Kay Lenz, plays Sarah Goodwin. She is the young girl who gets picked on by everybody who just happens to have telekinesis powers. Shelley Winters plays a house mother of the sorority that she has been assigned to, or accepted into, Okay. Now, Tony Bill, he plays Paul Yates. I've seen Tony in a few things over the years. Now, Catherine Grant plays Mrs. Goodwin, obviously Sarah's mummy dearest.
Adopted mother.
Well,
that comes
adopted
later.
mother, okay.
Go on.
Morgan Fairchild plays Jennifer Lawrence. She plays a really nice bitchy role. She's a good actress. Morgan Brittany plays Patty Goodwin, which is Sarah's adopted, well, not so, sister in the adopted family.
I bet it's confusing when you had actors and they have the same first name. That must be difficult when you're addressing them during productions.
Okay.
Go on.
You finished?
Go on.
Thank you. Now, Robert Hayes plays Scott Rafferty. Now, he was in a few things, but the thing that Sarah's saying, what's that, the Mel Brooks spoof Airplane? Or something? Yeah.
And he was in, let me see, Homeward Bound, and the remake, obviously.
That's right,
And let me see, he also appeared in the Cat's Eye, a Stephen King movie that was more of an anthology.
Now, here we
Go
are.
on.
And lastly, but I won't go through all the rest of them. There's too many up here. But Tissa, T-I-S-A, Farrow plays Mouse, a girl who befriends Sarah. Tissa Farrow is Mia Farrow's sister. And everyone knows Mia Farrow, Rosemary's Baby and other good groovy things. I think Mia Farrow was in Peyton Place back in the early days too, I can't remember. So there's lots of good groovy things.
Yeah, a lot of groovy actors that have made their name in the industry and still are named sort of in the industry as even not playing main roles, but you can recognize them off the scenes
and stuff and things. And Now, Jay, do you want to take over? I can't say too much more about it at the moment because I haven't got anything on big TV movies make it really hard to talk about.
Yeah, sure. So the story takes place on a beach where our two main girls, Patty and Sarah, are just with a few friends, just celebrating, I guess, the end of high school years or
holidays maybe.
Yeah.
School holidays.
Yeah, and one boy approaches Patty and tries to take advantage of her during
take advantage, almost freight her in the waves.
Oh yes. But luckily enough, her sister was there and shouted and somehow causes the guy to get
flung backwards. We start thinking she's got special powers.
Yeah, Patty and Sarah are like the closest of sisters, but also close to friends.
Because they're not really sisters.
Then we cross over to much later on where they're getting ready to go off to university or college. to study and join a sorority, their mother's sorority, called Alpha Nu.
Alpha Nu Sigma.
Yeah. I'll just call it Alpha Nu anyway. Anyway, so her mother says, make a good impression, blah, 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 give some hugs, kisses, and all the best. So the girls head off to the university, and Patty has a shoe-in, obviously, because she's the most pretty of the group.
Very pretty, attractive, and smart and bubbly, and just the type that they were looking for.
While Sarah is a little on the shy side and dresses a little down.
Yes, doesn't dress like a show pony. She's attractive, but she doesn't use her personality very well.
Yeah, and Sarah keeps bringing up the fact that she's not really her mother's, birth mother. I mean, considering she is adopted, but Patty tells her that it doesn't matter. We're still sisters, blood or no blood. Stuff like that.
Blood? We're talking about a horror movie.
Not true, but it doesn't matter because they're very close. Anyway, they get to the school and they start going on the whole pledge thingy where you have to go to these
They've got to go to visit the houses and introduce yourself, and then people in the different houses put a name on a list and see which ones you've been accepted by, and then you turn around and say, I like that one, I'll join that one. Yeah.
Of course, everyone welcomes Patty with open arms, but Sarah, she was escorted to the refreshment table, meaning she was ditched.
Dumped.
Dumped. Yes. Anyway, they then make their ways to the next house, which is called PED, I think it is.
It was PED, and the naughty girls in the other house called it
Pigs, Elephants, and Dogs.
That's not nice. They didn't like them. How's that?
No, not really. Anyway, it's when they get there, it's all quiet. There's no refreshments, no cheerful conversation. It's very, just very casual stuff.
Lay back. Cool.
But the girls leave their names, at the registration and head off to the next sorority, wherever that might be. But later on, as they're heading to the registry op for this that says you're accepted to a sorority of sorts. Of course, Patty's accepted by three sororities, including Alpha Nu, obviously, while Sarah gets accepted by PED, obviously. Of course, she's all excited, Patty, and Sarah is all supportive and doesn't mind if they are separated, stuff like that. Of course, here's the biggest issue. Jennifer, the mean girl of the group, tells her that you must not associate with anyone associate with the PED guys.
Of course, they don't like them.
Yes. So she tells her if you don't accept those terms, then she will be blackballed from any of the sororities that was accepted her.
Yeah.
So this was upsetting to Sarah the most because this will ruin their sister friendship thing. Of course, as she's heading off, we see a demonstration of her power when she sees, as she's getting underneath a piano, she's approached by her sister, and during her anger, Patty nearly gets knocked over by a piano, but luckily enough, Sarah who's kind and
They
nice.
also a piano on top of it, not knocked over by it.
Yeah, but luckily enough, Sarah was able to push her aside just in time. Of course, all the time, Patty says, I cannot join a sorority. We could just go and rent an apartment, pay for it ourselves. But Sarah knows that her mother would be disappointed if she didn't get accepted by
Yeah, so
by
Sarah's
Alpha.
trying to be fair about this, yeah.
Yeah, so what? They won't get to spend much quality time at university. Big deal, according to her. She's let down that they will be separated. And so you guys know, pledging lasts like about either 2 months.
I think you got a 3 months probation period.
Yes, 3 months probation.
And then they will
Hell
Hell Week or something,
and
then you're accepted totally.
You're accepted totally into the group, or into the fold. That's how long Sarah has, not to spend with her sister, which is a bit pain. So each girl goes to their sorority, and Sarah meets Mouse and the rest of the other girls in the group. They're very nice and very, not so over the top nasty. Anyway, she also gets to meet the mother, the sorority mother, who is, according to the girls, thinks that she dabbles in witchcraft.
Yeah.
Ooh. She also makes the acquaintance of Paul, a good-looking teacher's aide or teacher's assistant.
Yeah, he's a teacher's aide, teacher's assistant. Yeah, teaching assistant for psychology classes that she's enrolled in as well.
Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah, during the classroom stuff, she asks questions about, if a person is, born differently and stuff like that. And, of course, he does describe it as, in such a way, like talk about what makes a person evil and if doing bad is all that stuff, and of course he tries to explain as best he could, and he's developed a attraction towards her, obviously.
She's a nice girl, yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. Anyway, so soon enough, as Sarah's settling in, she tries to get a little one-on-one time with Patty, but of course the sorority sisters are like hovering. Isn't that right?
Sorry?
Like when they try to go for coffee,
Oh, yeah.
they kind of hover and say,
Jennifer says, no, you can't do this. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and this is upsetting to Sarah, obviously. And of course, Mouse, when she asks whether she can go for coffee with her, she nearly gets knocked down by a car. And luckily enough, Sarah was there to help escort her to the hospital or doctors. And of course, Sarah then stamps her foot at the other girls in the PE and tell them that we should all try to be better, friends with one another. We should all look out for one another, not just, just ignore what's happening. And of course, the sorority mother supports this thing because she sees Sarah as a bit of a leader of women, obviously.
No, she saw she had power.
She has power. She notices it like several times in this, including her
Actually,
dog. She has this dog, a Rottweiler, whom Sarah can
The dog was going, "Rawr," and she looked at the dog, and the dog went, okay, sorry, and walked off. Now, actually, I was just reading some notes here that I got off the computer, and she goes, there's something there. I'll have to rewatch the movie to see if it is actually true.
Okay.
It says it's heavily implied that Mrs. Hunter,
Yes.
the sorority mother, is Sarah's biological mother, and that her and her adopted father had an affair, resulting in her conception, and that's why she got adopted by the other family.
Yeah.
He adopted his own daughter into that family.
Yeah. See, also, Miss Hunter has a bit of an agenda with the alpha new
Because they
group.
treated her in a bad way years ago.
And she wants, and Paul kind of does an investigation on her, saying that she did some nasty things at her
sorority a long way back when she was...
and it resulted in a girl's death.
Yes, which apparently is true because Mrs. Hunter reacted violently when she was told about it. She thought, oh, no one knew about it. They did.
Anyway, so... But of course, Sarah thinks nothing of this. She thinks there's nothing wrong with her. She's a nice old lady, blah, blah, blah. But she just ignores it, obviously. Then later on, when her mouse and her are going, through the school courtyard or whatever, they are confronted by the sorority girls as they're watching her sister go through Hell Week, dressing like a homeless person asking for a quarter. But then she starts taunting Mouse. Jennifer was starting taunting Mouse because of her broken arm. She has a broken arm, and she's a violinist. And they start telling her, teasing her about her disabled arm, obviously, and telling her to play music. Of course, at this point, Sarah uses her powers and tells her off by saying that underneath you're ugly, and underneath all that makeup and underneath that horrible face of yours, you are ugly. And eventually the girl, it kind of shut her up, obviously, and she was knocked into a pond or...
the old mind power again, knocked off into a pond, fountain, whatever,
Yeah, and this, they continue to think this is great, that PE is finally getting noticed again and starting to take shape. And this is where the mother suggests that maybe we should start looking at doing a special ceremony that's sort of...
We used to do it years ago, but we don't do it. Haven't been doing it for years.
Because they don't just do the whole Hell Week or the pledging, the whole thingy wing, obviously. It's more of a, as I said before, they're not really serious about this whole pledging thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so... Later on, Jennifer approaches Patty and asks her that she wants to make amends with Sarah and asks her a few things about her, what her favourite things are, what her favourite food, what's her favourite...
But she was lying, just trying to get information, she was.
Patty tells her about her favourite foods, foreign foods, like a spicy stuff.
And the guy she's keen on.
And the guy she likes.
Mr. That psychology... psychology class assistant.
And her interest in, classical music. Then Jennifer goes to her boyfriend. I think his name's Scott, the guy that I mentioned. We saw his face like several times in this movie, obviously, even though he didn't play a very big shining.
He just played the mean girl's boyfriend, but he showed up occasionally. Yeah.
Anyway, Jennifer tells him, "We want you to, pull a prank for us. We just phone Sarah, pretend that you're going to set up this birthday surprise for Scott, Paul.
Yeah.
And he's not really want to do this. He may be a sporty guy, but he's also a sensitive
nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to get involved.
Yeah, in this sort of crappy petty stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he does eventually phone, and Sarah says she'll go along with it, and she dresses really nice in this white and got a white dress.
Looks very attractive. Mm-hmm. And they said, "Oh, the car's here," and she comes out the front door.
Yeah, and the lights. There's a lot of headlights shining in at.
A couple of cars there, the headlights full beam on her, and they start throwing eggs, rotten food, mud at her, whatever they had.
Whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, whatever they had, and they just pelted the crap out of her with it.
Yeah, it's not a pretty sight.
Nah.
Anyway, Scott tries to tell his girlfriend enough is enough, but she continues to do this. And then they soon enough get into their cars and they drive away. Of course,
a nice chuckle.
Paul arrives and he didn't know about this prank.
He had no idea about it.
Yeah. And he watches a stunned but traumatized Sarah as she's, walking through her sorority, covered in mud and covered in whatever's on her. And soon enough, back in Alpha, the girls are chuckling, saying, "Oh, what a horrible prank, blah, blah, blah." And then Patty approaches them and finds out from Scott that they just pulled a whammy on dear old Sarah. And this upsets her, and she's starting to realize this is not the sorority she wants to join.
Nah.
So she actually decides then and there to tell Jennifer off that she's done with them. She is not going to pledge with these guys, and she wants to move out and go live in the dorms, which she hopes to plan on doing. Yeah. But then soon enough, while this is happening, the PAD head mother decides to use Sarah's powers to take revenge on the girls. As they're cleaning up, she tells her to stare into a mirror and think about what they did to her. And this boils up her hate, and then she kind of sees where Jennifer and her sister are. And they're both in the shower stall in Jennifer's room, and
Yeah, Patty's talking to Jennifer about leaving the sorority and different things, and I don't like you, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She then, Sarah kind of locks them in there and scolds them with lots of hot water.
Turns the hot water hotter, boiling water almost.
Yeah.
Considering it's supposed to be boiling water, scalding them, they didn't get that scalded.
Yeah. Then eventually it stops.
Special effects makeup didn't do a good job.
Sarah the next morning asks her mother, whether the girls were boiled or damaged. Of course, they were just burned a bit.
Yeah, but the water was hot enough to make welts on them and stuff, and blisters and stuff a little bit.
Yeah, and she learns from Paul that her sister has left the sorority and now is living in the dormitories, obviously. And of course, she doesn't seem to care at this point. She's less than caring at the moment.
Yeah, she's sort of becoming disassociated with those people around her. She's becoming more of a what's it called? Not a recluse, but more of an introvert. Yeah,
that's probably it. Anyway, so she probably still thinks Patty and Paul were in on it because he doesn't say anything about the prank or anything like that, and she's not talking to him. So anyway, she closes the door on him. But he knows that there's something wrong, and he knows the danger is lurking, obviously, and he wants to help Sarah, or at least try to get her out of this story before she goes insane, or worse. Anyway, later on, the girls start their initiation thingy, where the get dressed in robes, the alphas wear their yellow and blue robes, and while Sarah and her group wear black, and her head mother wear a red robe.
What they're going to do is almost like a black mass.
It does look like a black mass. There's also a secret room at the end of their sorority house,
a hallway,
which is more of a dark mass room, obviously. Creepy. Anyway, as assembled, we don't see Mouse anywhere, not the present, which is weird.
But Mrs. Hunt said, she's going to appear later in the ceremony.
Yeah, anyway, they start assembling and they make their way to a sort of hedge maze, obviously, which is outside their sorority house.
That's right, yeah.
Anyway, they head out there, and this is where she starts chanting, and Sarah starts concentrating on her power. And this is where...
she's got more control over it now, yeah.
This is where she uses her powers and starts causing havoc with the girls at the afternoon.
A new thing, whatever.
Yeah.
A new sigma, yeah. But what happens is that she's concentrating on them.
Yes, including Jennifer. And soon enough, Jennifer becomes her skin begins to crumble.
It's becoming disfigured. Like she looks old and like a mummy in her face like mud, but it's just been disfigured. But so she said, "You won't always be beautiful," and this time she's turning her skin into wrinkly old parchment with like mud and stuff. Yeah, not very nice look.
And we then, as this is happening, we then notice something under the table, the altar table. Turns out to be Mouse, and Mouse is telling Sarah that she plans on taking her life as a bit of a sacrifice, if you will.
And Sarah likes her friend very much, so she stops concentrating on the other girls
and starts getting the others to get her friend out of there, obviously.
While she deals with Mrs. Hunter.
Yeah, and so they quickly get the girls out of there, obviously, and while this is happening, her sister Patty and Paul arrive, and they try to go and try to save Sarah, but then she starts setting the place on fire inside the hedge maze.
With her telekinesis power, she knocks over these lampstands and stuff and sets fires to the hedges around them and different things, and she keeps Mrs. Hudd in there with that, and while they are in there, they both get consumed by the fire.
Then later on, we see Mouse approaching Patty, who's cleaning up her sister's room, and is telling her that she doesn't no longer associate herself with Alpha anymore because she could not see herself in that way anymore. So she plans on staying at the dormitory. Then Mouse suggests, "Why don't you stay
in Sarah's room?"
And at first she says that she doesn't feel right. But then eventually she gives in, and they both gaze at a portrait of her and her sister at good times.
Yeah.
You know, saying farewell to her long lost sister and
Yada, yada, yada.
yada yada yada. That's the end of that movie.
Yay.
I do think it's a good,
clean, wholesome, fun,
TV
folks.
movie,
Yeah.
even if it's. I do like the fact that Sarah had her redemption, even if it cost her own life. I mean, unlike Carrie in other movies that deal with kids going insane with the power, it's nice that some of them, they kind of gain control and they just don't really want to take revenge. They try to help the people they love, obviously. Anyway, so what was the reception like? Was there any reception, even though this was directly to television?
I got no scorings. However, it says mixed to positive. I think most of the reviews shared the opinion that while the film was cheesy, they enjoyed the acting. So there you go. Then. That's pretty much what it is. And multiple reviewers noted the similarity to the 1976 Carrie film.
Yeah, you're going to find that a lot in this movie.
Yeah. And all these movies have the same sort of theme. But here's a couple of things on production which I picked up before. It says Morgan Fairchild said when she signed on for the film, it was agreed that she would do the shower scene wearing a body stocking.
Oh, didn't notice that.
Wait a minute.
Go on.
But on the day of the shoot, it was suggested that she do it nude. It was going to be filmed through a foggy shower door and nobody would see anything.
Oh.
And Morgan Fairchild said she partially acquiesced and performed topless, so she might have had a body stocking on the bottom part of her. But the scene touched off bad feelings amongst the cast and crew. A veteran costumer had worked on the show, said that there were about 25 visitors on the set, which wasn't closed. You would think if you're going to do a nude scene, you would have a closed set and keep the necessary people there, like the canteen assistant, the car park attendant, and those sort of people.
Yeah.
And, but most of the exterior college campus scenes are filmed on the campus of the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena. There you go. And I got little else more to say about anything because there's nothing more to tell. I got no notes. There's nothing I can find on it.
Yeah.
Now, having said all that, as a production, I think it's a good little story. It's not the greatest story. Yeah, like it is a bit cheesy and stuff, but it's typical of that era.
Yeah.
I think.
But I got to admit, the 2006 one was a lot more of a. It's less than a horror, but more of a fantasy when you think about it.
I haven't seen the new one.
Well, we're going to be seeing it next time on this channel. We've ordered a copy, so hopefully it will arrive very soon. Hopefully.
What I was going to say is, I mean, it was similar to other movies of this type in that era. So there's no yes, it's better than something else or not better than anything else. It was pretty much on par with the other ones. So having said that, for its time, it's the decade it was made in, the type of genre. It was a telly movie, and they're not necessarily. I'm not always across the board. They're not necessarily as good as an A-grade film. Some are, but they're not necessarily. Not quite as polished. But for what it is, being a telly movie for that period of time, I'm going to give it a 9.
I'm going to give it a 9.5 myself too, guys. I do think it's an interesting approach where a girl has supernatural powers and is questioning whether she is good or evil. And it does make you question whether or not supernatural powers are a source of good or a source of evil.
Actually, I went out for a girl once and she had supernatural magical powers.
Here it comes, folks.
No, honestly. Really.
Okay.
We were driving down the road in my car, having a wonderful time talking. She put a hand on my leg, and I turned into a motel. See? What?
I knew this was going to be ending with a joke.
Oh, I'm
folks.
sorry. I just had to say that one. Anyway.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew you were going to turn this into
I can hear you guys
funny
laughing
joke.
out there. No. No, it's an old joke, that one. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
The other one's got whiskers.
Yeah,
and
everyone
dust on
out
it
there
and
probably
mummy
knows
dust
what
and-
you're talking. You just said.
Yeah, it's no one. I thought it was worthwhile just to lighten up a little bit. Now, where do you get it? Well, there you go. eBay, obviously.
Plenty for sale.
It's for sale. Amazon, it's for sale and for rent. Now, being an oldie, I noticed there were some VHS copies out there. Do not buy a VHS copy.
Not unless you're
you've
desperate.
got a VHS player. And also there is the newer movie, the 2006 remake, which is a slightly different story. Probably the same sort of story, but it's been changed around a lot. We're not reviewing that at the moment. We might do it next time.
We may look at reviewing it next
sometime in
time
the future.
because I did promise a fan out there that we review it and discuss the stories.
So yeah,
about
and then we might do that next time and compare it and say, well, compared to the previous one, it's been changed into so and so, and yada yada
Because
yada.
I did
and
say,
blah, blah,
Mike,
blah. Yeah.
that in that one, it's more of a light comedy fantasy. And less than
This one was
This was supernatural horror.
So you lighten up a little bit. It's a bit nicer. Not so much in your face of the horror and supernatural. Yeah.
not gory or something like that. But then again, this one is not in your face gory. Unless you're counting the bit with the girl getting her face peeled, then that's a big one.
No, all it did, the face was contorted, made it look old, like a mummy almost. That's all it was. But there wasn't blood first or anything. So, but the point is, back in those days, a lot of the special effects stuff did not go into blood and gore. They still needed to make it acceptable to the what do you call it?
I always thought
what do you call them? The censorship guys. Oh, we can't have blood. We can't do this. Can't do that. That sort of stuff. They kept it neat and tidy. Yeah.
They were so sensitive, those guys.
Oh no, they didn't want anything nasty getting out there into the public. So they kept. Well, remember they did Psycho, and they had a few problems after the love scene at the beginning of it, and the flushing the piece of paper down the toilet. So why do we need to have the camera pointing down the toilet? And that sort of stuff. I mean,
at least there's no poo in there.
No, there's no floaties apart from a piece of paper. And the love scene was not really that steamy. They were laying on the bed, and she was wearing a petticoat and bra and panties. She was almost fully dressed, and the guy had his shirt off, and they thought, there's a problem with this? What? By today's standards, they could have walked through the park dressed like that and no one look at them.
Or they were just playing a bit of chess or having a sandwich.
Whatever, yeah. So, the censorship has changed over each decade, and it's got lighter and lighter. But back in the early days, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they were getting more easier. They're getting easier, and but now almost anything goes. They said, just put a rating on it. Oh, this is an X-rated movie, so blah, blah, be careful. This is R-rated, be careful. No 18 plus, be careful. That sort of stuff. And they let anything go now, almost. Except for stuff movies.
Yeah.
I don't think they like stuff movies still, which is fair enough. So anyway, so I got a 9, you got a 9.5.
Yeah.
We know where to get it. Watch out for the VHSs, like I said, and the 2006... No, this is the other one, the 2078. Can't say anything more about it. Have you got anything you want to say about it?
No, not to my knowledge, guys.
Well, there you go.
But I did think it was an interesting story plot, dealing with I mean, as far as I'm concerned, stories have not changed since those
movies.
days. And from what I understand, the sororities have Pledge Week and Hell Week and the inauguration, the one where you do the final print.
But, we don't know. We've never lived that culture, but the point is it shows up the same sort of thing in all these movies and television shows and whatever.
And it shows up in real life too, where the whole we must punish you in order to see if you're a worthy candidate for a
Yes, but you
sisterhood.
don't know that. All you're seeing is from media.
No, it's not just that.
Where have you seen it? We don't
I
have it
saw
here.
it on the news. I saw articles
What
about
news?
yes, on
What
the
news?
news,
What news?
on the YouTube. They
Oh,
often
okay.
there's news on YouTube, folks. So there was a few stories I found out about sororities, and some of those ones could have end up in court.
Going too far.
Going too far with mostly there was even 2 cases where they used cattle prods. I don't know what they use them for, but it doesn't sound really good.
Well, yeah, that wouldn't be fun.
No, cattle prods are like electricity running through the
We know what a cattle prod is.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think there was one where it dealt with alcohol and abuse and stuff like that.
What's wrong with alcohol
and
abuse?
fighting. And
Fighting's okay.
it's not really it's not really good unless in speaking of from a person from who's never been to a sorority in my life, I think that type of thing it should not ever happen in real life.
It often comes across as out of control. The guys are usually worse than the girls, but not always.
Well, They seem to talk more about the female sororities more than the guy sororities.
Yeah, well, the girl wants to be more bitchy when the guy's just out of control, drinking and horrible and stuff, and getting into trouble and stuff. And
yeah, I know we've watched Scream Queens and stuff like that, and I do think that there is some kind of bitchiness going on inside sororities in America.
Well, there's cliquey groups. Now, don't say America. I mean, that's where the sororities are.
Yeah.
I don't have the same thing in other countries.
See, sororities date back to the 1850s. That's many years ago. So
is it really?
And I imagine it started off as just ordinary student housing for girls and guys, and then they changed it into a sort of you must become a member so you can become accepted as popular.
Out of control,
But it went over control and still is going a little further and further to the abyss of dangerous. And it makes me question whether is it worth going to that much hell to actually get accepted by such mean people.
I wouldn't care.
I don't think I want to be accepted. I don't even care.
Then again, I wouldn't mind being in a girl sorority.
Yeah, you know that.
Oh, sorry.
But I wouldn't put it across that there might be a little humiliation and trauma in such cases. Anyway.
Yes, they might pick on me.
It's not more than just pick on, Mike. It's they could go really as far. I mean, who knows how much loyalty they want you to give in these circumstances. Their loyalty may mean to
Their loyalty is mainly focused around the good looks and the money and position.
Yeah, they may want you to fully accept it, like a paddling, like getting hit on the back, several times, and you may receive a lot of bruises from that.
Beat me. Ooh.
It's not as nice as if it was a serious beating by a real cricket bat.
Sounds like being a masochist. Okay.
Anyway, so that's my thoughts about sororities. I mean, I don't really like them, and I don't think I'll ever think it's worth
not the way
joining.
they're implied on the TV programs or movies.
And
stuff,
I like to think some of these sororities may have adapt to some of these methods
they do take some ideas from real life and put in there. I keep telling you, the more real you make it,
the more real and more dangerous.
People can identify with it. Say, right, something like that happened to me.
Yeah.
Then it becomes real.
And especially if it's a girl who happens to be from a like Patty and Sarah, their mother was in that particular sorority, and while she may have not received she may have received just as much as humiliation, but it changes.
The good-looking girls didn't get that much. It's the lesser ones did.
Yeah, the whole humiliation may have changed. Like new punishments were probably put in place, and who knows how old most of these punishments are.
Yeah. Anyway, do you want to kill it?
Yeah, might as well. So that's that particular movie. I hope you guys may check it out. You know where to find it, and now it's up to you guys to actually watch the thing. So that's about it from us, guys. This is Sarah Stephenson.
And Michael.
Saying see you guys around on Boys and Ghouls Film Review. Bye for now, and have a good week.
Bye, guys.